Up next on the show, have you an idea for business? Have you something that's a variation on something that exists at the minute? And maybe you're thinking, how do I go about developing this and protecting it and getting it out there and making it viable? Well, the man who knows all is with me next. His name is Liam Birkett.
The Late Lunch with Blackstone Motors Drogheda. Ready to order your 171 Renault or Dacia? View the full range and offers on blackstonemotors.ie 041 983 1100.
Many people have good ideas, products or services, but don't have the ability to commercialise them. The words of my next guest, Liam Birkett, from his book How to Create Your Trademark, Protect It and Build Your Brand. So what should you do if you have that cracking idea? Liam, delighted to see you again. Thanks for joining me on the show. First off, let me ask you this question. It's an important distinction. What's the difference between me having a brand and a trademark?
Well, branding is a sort of all-embracing thing, that it covers everything about the product and its name and its identity, its location, its reputation with the public, how they perceive it. The trademark is actually the word that they use when you go in and you say, I want to buy a Toyota.
Okay, they're both distinct, both important, so it's no good having the brand and all that goes with that, that if you have Toyota, you need to trademark that.
Yes, and you protect the identity that you're going to use. And then all of the goodwill that you build up, that sort of forms your branding. But the essence, the centre point is you go in and you ask for a Kit Kat and you get a certain chocolate bar, and no other manufacturer of chocolate bars can have an identical or confusingly similar name to Kit Kat. And this is the difference between domain names and company names, because domain names, you could have a name and you could get it as a domain address, but you might not be able to register it because it's fresh fruits, for instance. Now, you could get freshfruits.ie or .com, provided someone else hasn't got it, because that's just an alphanumeric. It's replacing what was there in the very beginning. When domains came out, your domain name would have been 1768/9-5. Hard to remember. Whereas Fresh Foods, you can remember that, but you can't get protection for it because it's descriptive. And that's why you would come up with a name like Kit Kat, not chocolate bar. You could have chocolatebars.com, but you couldn't register chocolate bars, because guess what they are? They're chocolate bars.
Yes, and they're generic, and they can be anything.
Yeah, and the beauty about trademarks is it's for identical and confusingly similar protection. So, for instance, freshfruit.com, I could probably get a domain name freshfruits.com. And then which one do you actually go out and buy? And this is where the beauty of the trademark is. It's a pain when you're trying to get it registered and you find that other people have the name or similar names. But when you get it, your protection is so wide. And that's why everybody that's in business now listening to you or has the intention of going into business, they should be looking at their identity and saying, did I ever protect that? Is it capable of being protected? And then take steps to do that, because the seminars that I give all over the country and all over the world, for that matter, boils back down to common sense. And can I produce something, do extremely well, and stop somebody else from ripping me off? The only way that I can do that is registering a trademark. Give you an example. I came up with buns. I cannot register the name buns because guess what they are? They're buns. So we created the name Bundies. Now you can register Bundies. And then a slogan. The slogan that we came up was more fun than a bun. You can register more fun than a bun because buns aren't funny. You couldn't register very fresh buns because that's what they are.
Yes.
But your kids and my kids will only eat Bundies. Why? Because they're more fun than a bun. Why would you buy an ordinary bun when you can get a Bundy which is more fun than a bun?
So you came up with that and that name?
Yes. And these are the sort of things that we're doing. Another, because all of the forms of trademarks, which is again something that I would like to get out to your listeners, there's a whole range of things that you can do to make your product idiot-proof so that they walk in and they buy your product. I had to give a talk on intellectual property up in Belfast. I arrive up in my top hat and tails and I say, hey, I'm not going to talk about intellectual property because that's boring. 250 people in the audience are looking up and say, well, that's why we're here. I said, I'm not who I appear to be. And up onto the screen, I put a shot of myself and I was wearing a T-shirt. I had a David Beckham hairstyle when I went up in a whoosh like that. I had tattoos and earrings. I said, I'm going to come out with a couple of new products to sell in the north of Ireland. I want the name instantly recognisable, memorable, and I want to be able to protect it so that nobody else can use it. So up onto the screen, I put a shot of a peculiar shaped bottle. I said, my first product is aftershave, and I'm putting it into that shaped bottle. You can register shapes. The shape of a Coca-Cola bottle is registered, and nobody can have an identity or confusingly similar shape for soft drinks. Up onto the bottle, I put an outline of a building. You can register symbols. A swoosh, you can register that. I've registered that. It's going to go into a box. There are colour combinations on the box. You can register colour combinations. If you went to a garage and it was green and gold, it's Shell. Go into another one, black and red, you don't have to look up, it's Texaco.
Yeah.
So I've registered that. Now I've come up with a name for the product and I've done a search to make sure that an identical or confusing similar name isn't there for aftershaves, and the name that I came up with was Stormint. Stormint aftershave. So they're all starting to smile, they look up and they see what the symbol is and they know that it's Stormint. Now I said I've come up with a slogan. The slogan is a whiff of political intrigue. You can register that. I said you can register sounds. The sound of a Harley Davidson is registered. Nobody can have an identical, confusing, similar sound. Now, I couldn't afford to get 250 people into a recording studio, but I have you here this morning. And on the count of three, I want everyone in the audience to tap their face and go, Stormint. And they all did it. Now, each one of those is a registerable element. And this is the sort of thing that your clients and listeners should be listening to and say, hey, I wonder, could we use that? And the thing you can do is you can use it. Because I did another one for perfume, and the perfume that I came up with for Northern Ireland was Derriere. And they were coming up to me and they were saying, listen, I only heard that for 2 minutes. I'll never forget all of those things. And that's what we're doing to sell the product. And in the years that I've been doing this, people kept coming up and say, have you got a book? Have you got a book? And I said, no, I don't have a book. I'm not. And eventually I said, flip it, I'm going to produce a book. So I produced this book on trademarks, and then I have another one, You Are an Inventor, which covers inventions and patents, and then you trademark your patent. And I've done all of this, and it's dead simple stuff, very easy to read, because I'm approaching it from a sales and marketing perspective. And that's how, in every country that I go into, I'm able to get onto the radio or onto television or write articles, because I'm making the subject sexy.
But it's brilliant creativity. I'm sitting here in awe of you, thinking of how you came up with that example you mentioned with Belfast. But here's my question. You know, say that somebody today has something and they believe it's brilliant, and it has to work through, you know, and be brought to reality. As you say, to commercialise something is a huge step from the concept and the development. I'm thinking now that I must do what you're saying. If I don't, I'm wide open. If I plough on regardless, not considering any of this.
If you plough on regardless, you may be a success. If you're a success, somebody may want to copy you. If you haven't got protected your identity, then they can copy you. Now, it may never happen, but if it does, what are you going to do? All the hard work that you've put in, and as well as that, you could come out with an identity and go out and start using it, and you haven't checked that you're not infringing the rights of someone else. And when you've done your success and you're wonderful, you get a letter saying, cease and desist from doing this because your mark is identical or confusingly similar to my mark, which is registered.
And you've seen this happen, I'm sure, in your
experience. This is what I do all day, every day.
And you know, how then do... Two things from what you've said. How do I know, or should I do that work early on to make sure that I'm not infringing somebody else? How do I do that?
Well, you can do an awful lot of it yourself, which is explained in the book, or you can go to a professional patent and trademark firm and you pay them for doing it. But it's a very expensive exercise. So I would say at the very beginning, do the search yourself. It's quite simple to do it. You can do it here for an Irish trademark. You can do another one for a community trademark, which protects you in the 27 member states.
I want to ask you a particular question now that you're here with me today, and it's an issue that affects Slane, the village of Slane in County Meath, and it's hinterland. I don't know whether you've seen the story where the whisky company in the States now have ownership of the word Slane.
Yep.
Somebody wanted to put Slane into their business and they've been stopped, as you just said a moment ago. Yeah. What do you make of that?
Well, I would have said that geographic locations are very difficult to protect. Take, for instance, Waterford Crystal. It took them years and years and years to move to get registration of it because it was a geographic location. They got it through use and through all of the advertising. The situation with Slane is that is a geographic location. But in the United States, the informed user wouldn't have an idea of where Slane existed or what it was. So they were probably able to get the registration because the official examiner over there said, Slane, what the hell does that mean? And he registers it. If they had applied for Ireland, he probably would have said, no, you can't have that. But Slane is, where the heck is Slane? Never heard of it.
But that US situation prevents people over here then using the name. How?
Well, I don't know about how trademark registration is territorial. So if it's protected in the United States, then it's protected there. They may have applied for a European mark, and Ireland is part of the European mark, and that could have been what has frustrated them. I don't know the details of it. I just know the story behind it.
Or perhaps they're going to export into the States and Slane is registered over there, and that
they won't be allowed in because geographic location is ring fencing the market, and you can neither manufacture nor sell into that market where the mark is registered.
Liam, let's turn our attention to the invention side of you, and I want to mention again you have another book called You Are an Inventor, along with the trademark one as well. Liam, I've heard this many times. Look, everything that's been made or can be created in this world is done at this stage.
Yep. Well, about 100 years ago, the boss man of the patent office in the United States retired because he says there are no more things to be invented.
that puts me in my place. It does, yeah. So do you believe this is endless?
Oh, it is endless. I mean, if an idiot like me can be an inventor, anybody can be an inventor. There are only 3 requirements for an invention. It's got to be new as far as you know anywhere in the world. 2, you haven't exposed it to the public. And 3, it has an inventive step, something that is non-obvious to those skilled in the art. And all of the people here and this whole area of this countryside is full of entrepreneurs and inventors. And they are coming out with great ideas. You had a colleague on, Pat Keeley, and he is Heaties.
Yes.
Heatese, Heaties. And he has produced a new boiler and heating system. And he's able to sell that, and it's selling since we were on this programme. It's been selling all over the country, and it's in homes, guest houses, hotels, offices, and it was just striking me, schools are complaining that they can't open because it's too cold. Here's Heaties, and there are examples where heating systems that had to use 3 litres of oil an hour are now using half a litre of oil. So they can afford it. So all the school kids should be running in saying, we want Heaties, we want Heaties.
It's a great success story of Pat's,
fantastic.
Isn't it? And he has protected what he has, hasn't he?
And that's registered as a trademark and it is patented, and we've gone through that whole patenting process, and he is now up for the Green Awards. He has been listed under 4 categories: the Green Entrepeneur of the Year Award, the Green Product Award, the Green Energy Provider Award, and the Green Technology Award. And this is a Navan man just down the road from here.
Yeah. So you're saying to me there are other Pat Keeleys dotted all around
all over the place. There's another, for instance, Minister Bruton wants to get computer coding into every school, but the answer is on his own doorstep. There's an inventor here, Seamus O'Neill, who has delivered Ready Steady Code, which is a method for teaching coding to school children while they're doing their maths. So again, the school kids should be saying, parents and school children, why haven't we got Ready Steady Code? That's the way we're going to learn it. I mean, the answers are there. You don't have to go out and start creating commissions and getting reports done. It's there and it's on our doorstep. And that's why I use a lot of time. I work as mentor for a lot of the local enterprise boards all over the country. And all of the would-be inventors are referred to me, and I will be able to assess and advise them. And if they have to go to a professional to get the patent filed, well and good. But we can tease out whether they have something to go with in the first place.
That's the point, isn't it?
Yes, because everybody is an inventor. But then you have to say, no, hold on a second. But I've searched Google and it's not there. No, it's not on Google. But that doesn't mean it's inventive. It doesn't have the inventive step. For instance, one of my inventions was I had a piece of white plastic subdivided into jigsaw pieces. And there was nothing else on it because it was a blank jigsaw puzzle. Nobody thought of a blank jigsaw puzzle. I went to a patent attorney. He says, how the hell can we protect this? And I said, new as far as I know. 2, you haven't exposed it to the public. 3, the inventive step is blank. By the time I had finished with him, he says, not only is this protectable, but it'd be very difficult to infringe, because how do you nearly infringe blank? But my big selling point was I created a trademark, and the trademark was UDRA. And I was able to register that. And then I had a product that I was able to go out, launch, and it was the U-Draw jigsaw.
But you have a special mind, obviously, and it's like you said a minute ago, I'm just an ordinary, but you're not. You're different. You know what I mean? You've developed yourself in this.
Well, you see, I've been there and done that because I've been in wholesale, retail, cash and carry, direct selling, indirect selling. I've worked for the People's Republic of China. I've been all over the blinking world. But all that I'm doing is I am selling product. Me is the first product. I got to sell me because I got to win your heart and mind. And then after that, I add on. The books that I've done, for instance, there's another chap who has just started perpetuitypublications.com, and he has a print-on-demand facility. So there's no excuse. Everyone who has a book in their head can go and get it printed simply and cheaply. And it's Perpetuity Publications. In fact, I did a testimonial video for them. In fact, again, another Navan man. There's a Navan firm called Shea Casserly Videos. I think that's it. Anyway, the name is definitely...
Shea.
Do you know Shea Casserly?
Yeah.
Well, I went to him. I was able to do a testimonial that he videoed and put it onto the clients at perpetuity.com. And now anybody who wants to create a book can go, and they don't have to spend an awful lot of money getting 1,000 copies printed. They can get 1 copy printed. And this is invention, and this is the whole purpose of this. There are people listening to this who said, I should have. Stop talking and do something. Because we can, in 5 minutes, we can look at the idea and say, that has potential, that is a runner. It might be patentable, but it might not be patentable, but you could get design registration, or you could get trademark protection on it. Because people buy brands, they don't buy patents. They go in and they ask for what they want.
Can I ask you this before we finish? We were talking about this upstairs this morning. Can you protect a slogan?
Yes. Provided the slogan hasn't got a direct reference to the goods or services, like more fun than a bun.
Yes.
Yeah? But the best radio program around, no. I'll give you another example. I did it with another client of mine who had a frozen yogurt, and he wanted to say beautiful frozen yogurt. And I said, no, you can't protect that. And then the slogan, the ad lib that I came up to was spoonful of smiles. Every time you put it into your mouth, it was so beautiful, you smiled. You could protect spoonful of smiles.
And that was his then? Nobody else could use that?
If he registered it as a trademark, he got exclusive rights to that, and nobody could have an identical or confusingly similar slogan to that.
So interesting. Have to leave it there. I want to come back to this sometime down the road, but can I mention that Liam has 2 books out. You Are an Inventor is one of them, and the other is How to Create Your Trademark, Protect It and Build Your Brand. And kindly Liam has brought 2 copies of each along to us today on Late Lunch. I want to give them away to you, but I want to give them to people that we're talking about today. I want to give them to people who have something, who want to find out more about this, and that's the type of person I want these books for today.
We want a heat ease,
Yes,
or a ready steady code,
Yeah.
or a perpetuity publication type of approach.
Now you're talking. So if you would like one of these books, all you do now is text me the reason why. Tell me who you are, why I should send you one of these books to 53958, or you can call in if it's easier for you to 1850 715 958 and leave your details.
My books you can get on Amazon. Just
all
put
available.
in Liam Birkett.
And you have them there.
And you have them.
Pleasure, Liam. Thank you for joining
Thank
me
you,
today.
Jerry.